Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that cheeky notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway confused bro who says, from the Am I Wrong subreddit, and says, am I wrong for rejecting a woman who once rejected me? I, male, mid-20s, spent most of my childhood and early adulthood focused on education. I'm not naturally gifted, so I had to focus and work hard, as my parents encouraged me to. Things finally slowed down later during college, and I found myself being more social. There was a girl, Nat, in my social circle whom I liked, so I asked her out. She laughed when I did, but she said it was just so unexpected, and that's why she laughed. Still, it kinda stung. She declined and said she wasn't dating at the moment. Spoiler alert, she was definitely dating, just not me. But whatever, she said no and I moved on. I got a good job out of my hometown, partly based on my good school performance and connections through internship. Two of the guys from work, let's call them Tony and Steve, mid to late 30s, hung out with me a lot and got me to come out of my shell more. They told me to start coming to the gym with them because they were tired of looking at my beanpole ass. I had a lot of fun and improved my body drastically. Now Tony and Steve were a couple, so whenever we go out, they'd be really good wingmen and really got me out of my shell. I'm still a bit awkward, but much more comfortable in social situations now that I've got some experience. This happened over the course of like 2 years. I wound up asking my job to work remotely to be closer to my family. Health and money issues back home, not going to get into it, and got approved as long as I traveled back to the office quarterly for important meetings and stuff. So now I'm back home again. I ran into Nat at the grocery store a few weeks ago. Turns out she's raising a kid on her own and generally doing well for herself. We ran into each other again at a mutual friend's party. This is when she asked when I was going to ask her out again. I said the thought hadn't really crossed my mind, and she seemed offended, like, why not? I said I'm not interested and thought that was that. I did kind of remove myself from the conversation quickly after that. Well, apparently that wasn't okay to do. Nat came and found me again and demanded to know why I'm not interested because you were interested 2 years ago. I told her that was 2 whole years ago, and she lied when she rejected me, so I hadn't thought of her in that way ever since. She said a normal person would be over that, and then said it's because she's a single mum, isn't it? I mean, honestly, I've no interest in dating single mothers because I'm literally now just dating around. I don't want to have to deal with all the stuff that comes with a situation like that. But more to the point, I'm not attracted to Nat anymore. I just simply don't see her that way. Am I crazy here? Like, my friends blowing me up because I don't want to date her. Tony and Steve are telling me that I don't owe her anything, but some of my friends at home are telling me to at least give her a shot. I haven't really talked to my parents about it, but my younger brother is saying I should try, and my older sister is telling me to trust my gut. I just don't understand why or how this got to be such a big deal. And OP gave their first little update and edit within the same post, and then there's a further update afterwards, so we're going to read that bit first, which says, update. After reading and replying to some of the overwhelming amount of comments on here, I spoke with my sister last night about what to do. I don't like the chaos of this situation. It's a lot of anxiety, and I feel the need to resolve it. To that end, after much consideration and my sister's agreement, I reached out to Nat this morning and asked her if she would meet me for coffee tonight. I made it clear that this is not a date. It's just 2 friends trying to come to terms with each other, because I don't like all the messages and comments from her friends. Nat accepted pretty quickly and said she'd like to clear the air about some things. The fact that she apologized for any craziness does give me some hope that our talk later will be productive. We'll update you all tomorrow if I can. I appreciate everyone's time and input. Edit. Please, no red pill theories in here. I don't like how adversarial that makes things, and it's not how I view the world. My sister, my mother, my cousins, and many other people in my life are absolutely wonderful women. I don't like the disparagement, so let's please keep things civil. This is not an indictment on an entire gender, so let's stop it, please. I never understand how it gets to this point where you got like multiple people harassing you over this, getting in contact with you to say, oh, why aren't you taking her up on that offer kind of thing? Like, how does it actually happen? She asked him out and then he rejected her. So has she gone around to everyone and said, I can't believe he's rejected me after this? And what has she been saying in the background about it as well? Like if a mate, let's just put a hypothetical scenario out there, a mate at the pub come up to me and told me he just got rejected by a girl. The last thing I'm gonna do is go up to her and go, why not? Why won't you go out with my friend? It just seems bizarre. Even if it was a single parent, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to get involved in that for that reason, I think that's okay too. It's a lot of responsibility. If things get serious down the road at some point, your lives are going to become intertwined and you're going to have a lot to do with that child at the same time. Again, which is a lot of responsibility, especially as you've changed over the last couple of years, you've grown in confidence and you're just finding yourself. So for me, it's kind of just like live a little. But Darth says, no way. There is literally no benefit to you dating a single mum as a guy with options, let alone one who was not interested when you were less successful. Opie says, to be clear, the parenthood thing makes me feel anxious and uncomfortable, but in my mind that's less of a concern than the fact that I'm not attracted to her. I don't know if that's fair to say my successes are a factor. People always expected a lot out of me, and Nat is successful in her own right, I know that much. She's not a bad person, I'm just not interested. Jay Smith says, you saying that you're not interested is enough. It's pretty pathetic that she is now harassing you, having other people harass you just because you don't want to date her. That would make me be more turned off towards her. Does she think arguing with you about why you won't date her and getting other people to message you over it would make you want her more, or guilt you into dating her? Opie says, I don't know what she's thinking really. I feel really awkward, so I've been making myself scarce. I do feel kind of guilty. I'm not used to rejecting people. Magdaverse says, given that she laughed at you last time, why would you give her a chance now? Opie says she did say that she laughed because she didn't expect me to ask her out last time. I kind of believe that because I laugh when I'm nervous or surprised too. I just feel guilty. I don't like making people feel bad, and her friends are talking her up quite a bit. She does have a lot of really nice qualities about her, but my gut is just telling me not to go for it. I'm uncomfortable any way I look. Yellow says, you're not wrong. She lied to you when she rejected you. That's the only thing that matters. Opie says thank you. The lying does irk me. If she said she's not interested, that would have been fine. Then again, I do understand that sometimes women lie because they don't feel safe. I don't know that I necessarily blame her for it, but it also doesn't exactly make me feel good. So, OP did update their post and says, hi everyone, thank you to everyone who commented on my first post. This will be my last. Some of you got very angry very quickly, and I wanted to clear a couple of things up before telling you how it went last night. I try not to attribute behavior to malice if there's a possibility it can be attributed to incompetence. I think the world would be a better place if we tried to do that a bit more and be a bit less antagonistic. I know I would appreciate the benefit of the doubt if and when I do something wrong, so I try to do the same with Nat and her friends. Honestly, I'm glad I did. Nat has been in the periphery of my life for a long time. We weren't ever really close, but being from the same town, you get the general idea of who a person is over time. I was shocked at her behavior because I thought it was unlike her. Her friends reaching out to me surprised me and had me feeling anxious because I'm honestly not used to that much social attention all at once. The tone and the content of the attention notwithstanding. These are not inherently bad people. I believe they are just generally good people who are behaving poorly. Anyway, what you all really want to know. I met Nat for coffee, tea, at a local coffee shop last night. She showed up late, after I did, and said it was because of some childcare stuff she had to take care of. It turned out that her son's father is very much in their lives, but just as a co-parent. The reason she is single is because co-parents is really all they can be together. They did not work well as a couple at all. But from Nat's own admission, her son's father is a very good dad, dedicated, caring, and supportive. I said to Nat that these last couple of weeks were very stressful for me because of her friends contacting me about her, and that I'm sorry she was offended or hurt by my saying no. I'm not sorry for saying no. Nat stopped me and apologized herself. She said she didn't intend for any of that to happen. She just has some very loyal and passionate friends. She also said sorry for how she behaved at the party and gave me some very helpful context. Nat had just recently started dating again. Nat's not been having much luck. She expected as much, but she didn't expect people to be so uncaring about it. The last guy she met was quite cruel about her being used goods and harshly rejected her specifically for being a single mum. So that was fresh in her mind. Nat said she saw me and was attracted to me, not just physically, but that I was less socially awkward and could somewhat hold a decent conversation now. So she was attracted to my growth. She said that she remembered that I was smart and caring, but was very socially awkward when I had first asked her out. Nat was adamant that she did not mean to laugh. She was genuinely just surprised because she never suspected that I even thought of her in that way to begin with. I do believe her on this front. It turned out that she was trying to flirt with me at the party, and when I rejected her, the negative emotions she had from the last rejection just took over and she reacted poorly. She said she complained to her friends and they took it upon themselves to try to grease the wheels. In Nat's credit, the messages have stopped since yesterday, after I reached out to her and explained why I wanted to meet. In retrospect, I think I may have overreacted too. I believe this because looking at some of the messages from her friends more objectively, it looks like they were just advocating for us to be together rather than attacking me for saying no, if that makes sense. But all the attention felt like demands to me, and I may have panicked a bit. So that's basically it, everyone. I apologized, she apologized, and it's a lot more mundane than I think some people may have expected. No, we're still not dating, and we're both okay with that. Though we did agree that if the opportunity presents itself down the line and the timing is right, one of us may try, gently, approaching the idea again. I don't know if I ever expect that to happen, but it's not entirely a bad thought. Just not a thought I would entertain for at least a few years from now. I like my life the way it is for now. Now, before we go into the top comments on that bit, it just clicked in my head as I was reading it. Tony, Steve, Nat, it's the Avengers. But Lake Champion said, you seem like a very nice guy. Actual nice, the good kind. I'm sure your anxiety about the situation played a role, but under that seems a caring guy. With that said, stay away from Nat and her friends. She may not have intended the bum rush, but the fact that her friends thought it appropriate at all is concerning. Listen to Tony and Steve. They have their heads screwed on right. Opie says thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful to have my friends. I've been generally an anxious person most of my life, so I can't say I'm too surprised at it having such an impact on me here and now. Next commenter says, having read both bits of your story, I'm simply baffled why you're in any contact with her or her unbalanced friends. You want to be in high school forever. You did nothing wrong. She was unable to deal with her life, so she sicked a childish posse on you via the net. When an adult has a problem, they deal with it themselves. No adult messages a third party who they should be dating. None of this was anyone's but your business, and certainly not the group of harpies. This is childish and sad. Stand up for yourself, tell her to never bother you again, and move on with your life. The refrigerator replies to that saying, I don't know. It was someone he liked and respected for at some point in his life, and he wanted to give her a chance to redeem herself as the person in his mind. Does she deserve it? I don't think that matters because he wanted to clear the air. Yeah, I don't think she or her friends are reasonable, but sometimes being human is to be unreasonable. It doesn't sound like he's going to date her or anything. Opie says, thank you. I did want to settle the matter. If something feels unresolved, it makes me very uncomfortable. I'm very glad that Nat was more agreeable this time around, and I appreciated learning the context of her life. I feel very badly for her, that the last guy or two treated her so meanly. I can't fathom being that callous to another person. It doesn't make sense to me. And for me, I like the way that OP dealt with it. I wouldn't have blamed OP if he just wanted to cut them off and move on with his life either, but, for himself and his anxiety, he wanted to clear the air, and, I think it was a good thing to do for him. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And before we do get into this next story, I do want to give you a couple of warnings. There is talk of alcoholism and addiction within the story, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Probably be the last one of the video, just to warn you. And let's crack on with it. This is from Fam Squad Lid from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and says, My dad is upset. I asked my brother to walk me down the aisle. So I, 27 female, am arranging my wedding with my fiance. But first, let me give you my life story. When I was little, both of my parents were alcoholics. I lived in a very unsafe and unpleasant home until one night the police were called and CPS took me out of the house. But my wonderful older brother came to my rescue and took full custody of me. He was my protector and caregiver and worked his ass off to provide for me and afford therapy for me. I have very precious memories of snuggling him at night when my anxiety was acting up and he was reading parenting books in his free time, and just overall a fantastic parent. I love him very much and he's a very special person. When I was 14, my parents were allowed to enter my life again and were very apologetic and made an effort to be a part of my life. In their defense, they've been trying and have been genuine. My fiance and I were talking about who would walk me down the aisle, and I told him I wanted my older brother to walk me down the aisle. I asked my older brother and he was honored and actually got a little emotional from how touched he was. Then recently my dad asked me if I wanted him to walk me down the aisle, and I told him my brother was going to do it. He was taken aback and asked why. And then we got into a little bit of a scuffle and he seemed pretty upset and hurt I chose my brother. Was I wrong for choosing my brother? So some relevant comments with replies from the OP. So the parents' relationship with the brother. OP says, my parents have a complicated relationship with my brother. For one, they're thankful I had someone to take care of me, but they also seem jealous that he got to be that person for me. More information on how the bio father has been in her life more recently. OP says, I'd say he's done a decent job of being a father for a grown-up kid. He's given me financial advice and helped me out with college stuff and admittedly has been really helpful with that. However, he wasn't the one who taught me how to ride a bike or embarrassed me by cheering in the front row at my piano recitals, or low-key told me he was proud of me for punching a boy who tried to kiss me in first grade, or as the above post says, snuggled with me when I was having bad nights. Someone says define scuffle. OP says just an argument, nothing physical. OP then replies to a commenter who says she should walk herself down the aisle because it's a misogynistic custom of someone owning you. And OP just replies saying, oh, shut up. Just seems like you're trying to start something, commenting on something that the post isn't about. That's great you walked alone down the aisle, but I have other plans. OP then responds to many comments calling OP's father sperm donor and says, can we stop with the comments calling him my sperm donor? I get the sentiment, but like, he's my father. It's not a bad word. I don't really care to call him my dad, but father is completely okay with me since it's true. More information on brother. He put his college career on hold and broke up with his at the time girlfriend to raise me. Information on what happened with the girlfriend. It says, yeah, I know she stayed around in his life as a friend, but they're both at peace about it. Also, he's married and has a son right now, my nephew, so it all worked out. He's genuinely the nicest and most lovely person I've ever known and deserves nothing but the best. I'm also glad that the brother got his happy ending. OP says for years I felt so horrible that I was allowed to have my 20s be on my own terms and filled with self-discovery, whereas he spent his raising a child. It's not even like he got a girl pregnant. He just had to clean up after our parents and take on that responsibility. The fact that he was able to continue his college career and get a job he loves and have a family softens the blow, but damn, I can't imagine not having these last few years of my life to myself. So OP updates their post and says, so 2 weeks ago I made a post about how my biological dad was very upset and hurt. I asked my older brother to walk me down the aisle instead of him. There's a ton of context in my original post and I recommend you go back and read it. So last night he called me and asked if we could talk. I reluctantly said yes, but then he said he wanted me to know that he was sorry he reacted that way. He also said he thinks it's completely valid that my brother walked me down the aisle considering it's my wedding, and he understands my relationship with my brother is different than my relationship with him, and he was out of line for questioning that. Then he said if he hoped I could forgive him, and if he was still invited to the wedding, he would feel honored attending as a guest. I was kind of caught off guard, and I wasn't expecting that, but I told him I forgave him, and he was still invited to the wedding. He said that made him happy. We then talked for a little bit about what's been going on in my life, and it was kind of nice since he was clearly putting in an effort. So yeah, not much to say aside that it's good he realized he was being an arsehole, and is at least trying to be decent, but it's still good news. So one of the top comments said that Dad was definitely out of line originally, but this new context makes it even more like it was out of guilt of a failing as a parent than of entitlement. Opie says yeah, seems like he was projecting. Another commenter says, you mentioned he was an alcoholic. Will there be an open bar at the wedding? Opie says, haven't gone that far yet. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.